welcome to the Conspiracy Wars. I'm your host, Nathan, and with me is Kyle.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
All right.
How you doing this week?
Oh, I'm doing quite well. It's been an okay week.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's it been for you?
Oh, not bad. Not bad at all. You were saying karate class was pretty good?
Yeah. I'm ready to start. I think I'm at the level where I can teach my wife.
Couple of the jabs to the eye.
Yeah. No, honey, seriously, stay still. I want to show you something.
I think the best move is can of mace.
Yeah. A tip for anybody out there that's going to do karate and show their significant other: don't do it in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Choose another spot, because there's far too many things for them to like flinch and get you in the corner of the eye or something like that.
Yeah. Bedroom.
Yeah. How about yourself?
Not bad. Yeah, pretty regular week.
Yeah.
Working
Working
away.
Yeah.
Waiting for today.
Working for the weekend.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so what I wanted to discuss is something that's out in the world right now is China recently found plasma bubbles in our atmosphere with their satellites. Okay, because their satellites are more advanced now, and then they're doing this testing.
Okay.
So they're calling them equilateral plasma bubbles, or EPBs. They're mostly over Midway Islands and the pyramids of Giza. That's where they show up.
Really?
Yeah, they're using their advanced LAIRD radar system.
Okay.
These plasma bubbles are pockets of superheated gas that form in the Earth's ionosphere, a layer of the atmosphere where the sun's UV light ionizes the atoms. Like, so why specifically over the pyramids, eh?
Mm-hmm.
What an odd thing to just kind of throw in there.
And so what are these exactly? Plasma balls?
Yeah.
So how big or what?
Now, it doesn't state that.
Because when you said plasma balls, at first I was thinking like bubbles, basically, like tiny little bubbles.
So why it's a problem is it's messing with our communication.
Oh, okay.
So satellites talking and GPS and all of that, when there's disruptions and stuff. So I used to just blame the solar flares.
Right.
It's a solar flare. But now they're saying, actually, plasma bubble is the cause of these things. That, okay, so here's some causes that can cause a plasma bubble. The day-night cycle. The ionosphere is more ionized during the day because the sun UV radiation, and then when it goes to nighttime, because of the drops, like not everywhere in the sky is going to be the same. So it creates this pocket.
Okay.
So another one is the electrojet. This is a strong eastward current along the magnetic equator. Variations in the current can lead to the formation of plasma bubbles. I don't remember that from school.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is new science.
Gravity waves. These are oscillations in the atmosphere caused by disturbances like weather patterns. These waves can reach the ionosphere. They can trigger the formation of plasma bubbles. So I'm reading that as like when we get like rain come in, there's a pressure change. So that pressure change, like there's a drop, and then I guess if the plasma is kind of like marbles, it all collects in one spot.
Right.
And if a satellite's passing over that spot, its communication will get all garbled coming through.
It kind of makes me think that, like, that sounds like it's leaning towards the electric universe theory of
Yes,
things.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last one just says the magnetic field. The magnetic field might be just kind of creating because it's all part of it. But I got to go back to that pyramid thing. What the fuck? Pyramid.
Yeah.
Why?
So I wonder if, like, if they're forming there because there's a pyramid there, or if the pyramid is forming them over top of it.
Does
You know, like maybe it's got some sort of, because how they say, like, possibly it was a energy generating device at one point, right?
Yeah.
Pyramid. So, supposedly it's on, like like a giant aquifer or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, maybe it's got some sort of electrical charge that it still has connected to or something like that,
What if we kind of picture the sun rays coming down like water?
Mm-hmm.
And then if the shape of the pyramid, and they're so big and they're exactly that shape, so it kind of makes it slide, so it makes like a pocket up above. And before, who knows, maybe it made like a couple of sparks down below, and that was enough for them to make it.
Yeah.
I would have. Seriously, if you told me, like, hey, if we all get together and build a pyramid exactly this way, like it's going to be purple sparks all around the bottom and it'll look really cool.
Yeah.
I will work my entire life to get that done. Absolutely. Sign me up.
It would probably look pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fizzling away all at once.
But now plasma is becoming an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the conspiracy around is plasma, the UFOs, the plasma beings that come down and take a human shape and start walking around and then turn into a ball again and zip off.
Right.
Is that something?
Yeah, who knows, eh? I mean, imagine it was like just like a little plasma person coming out of a UFO. But at that point, why would they even need bodies? If they were like plasma beings or something, like the orbs, like when people see these like glowing orbs of energy, it seems like that's the consciousness, that's the entity or whatever. I don't see it needing to take any further shape than that. Maybe it does, but that'd be interesting though.
Yeah, like it could also like I'm pulling this theory right out of my ass that what if that just like you said, the plasma is consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So if that consciousness through birth, like a piece of it gets caught inside a biological us, and that's the electrical signals going all through your body getting recycled. It's that bit of plasma energy,
right?
And if we tap into that, then we got something. That's your Chinese qi.
Oh yeah, almost like we're the vessels for it.
Yeah, and the more you can supercharge that plasma, the better off you are.
I think we talked about that the one time, but like you've seen that dude who can like start fires and stuff like that with his chi. Yeah, like that's so wild.
Yeah, I saw someone kind of break down that Dragon Ball, how they always had that like glowing around them and all that, and then someone scientific was like, if that were to be anything, that'd be plasma. because it's kind of like fire. It's kind of like electricity.
Like
it's
when they get juiced up and they got that, force field going in.
If that were to be anything, if you were to make that real, that'd be plasma. It was whoa, okay. And then I'm gonna put a red string over all of that, and like these pockets of plasma. Who knows what that is? Just a whole bunch of souls kind of up there, like, yeah, block the internet. It's not good.
It turns out Scientology was right all along.
Yeah, and those are those floating Xenu souls.
Yeah.
From the volcano. Yeah.
Lord Xenu.
Yeah.
You were right all along.
The Hindu heavenly battles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The Vamana.
Yeah. And again, like so many different things that is just like, wow, cool.
Yeah, I know. I really got to study more of those Eastern, like the Indian texts, because they seem to like really kind of be the, the voice of the last reset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe just before the Atlantis. Time, like I think Atlantis, if that was real, then that was the last reset, probably. And so before that, though, would have been when, they were talking about all these like wars going on in the sky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that we got our society kind of like took that Atlantis idea and split it down the middle of who's researching it or like looking into it. You're either part of like this fringe crowd and doing the work, or you're part of a university crowd and avoiding anything cool.
Right.
No, it's not right. You have to do it properly, and we need like a lead, and then to do it bureaucratic, step 1, step 2, step 3.
Yeah.
And then you got the Graham Hancock coming out and going, I'm seeing this. I'm right.
Yeah.
What's your backing? I looked at it. Well, fuck you. I went to school for 4, 8, 10 years. I went through the ringer. They hazed me. Do you understand? And you got zero hazing and you're just breezing in with a pair of sunglasses, Mr. Cool Guy. Go fuck off.
It's hard to break through that way, for sure.
Yeah.
I always think, it's all the same books, right? Like, if you want to be a geologist or you want to be a historian or whatever, like they don't get any secret knowledge. They're just kind of pointed in the right direction of what books to read and whatever, to study. Right. Yeah. But you can get the exact same education as somebody from a university like that, like book wise, from kind of like Goodwill Hunting. He's like, you could have got this all for, $23 in late fees from your local library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
You just get the guidance, the lectures and stuff like that you get from the teachers. That's where the value is supposed to come from, right? But there's no way that you're getting fucking $60,000 worth of value or whatever you're paying to go to a university these days.
But teachers hold it on a path, and it's going to be that way. Teachers are a double-edged sword. So, like, let's take fighting for example. I'm learning karate. Karate has been karate for somebody's going to be able to answer this, but it's been around a while,
a couple thousand years.
Yeah, just we'll say a little while, longer than most.
Yeah.
And then now we have MMA. And MMA has become an amalgamation of pretty much everything just to win. So is karate no good? Because now we can shortcut you to like all these different moves to where you just devolve into rolling around on the ground like almost instantly.
Yeah. I wonder what the difference between MMA and Jeet Kune Do is. Because that was supposed to be what Jeet Kune Do was from Bruce Lee, right? Was this like I forget what it was called, like the way of the evolving fist or something like that, right? Yeah. But it was supposed to be just like you use whatever works. He studied boxing.
Yep.
Kickboxing, and then, took all the best stuff. Like, oh, if it's better to use a boxing jab when you're in the fight, or, you need to use a street move where you're going to kick them in the nuts or whatever. Like, that's what you got to do to win.
How do we highly concentrate this so it's like perfect?
Yeah. Like he would say, like, all that stuff where you're like sticking to your form and whatever, like that's good in practice, really, but like it doesn't come out to a practical use when you're in a street fight, right? And that's what everyone wanted to get down to eventually. They're like, you can look cool fucking kicking around and doing everything all choreographed and having your buddy duck when he knows you're throwing and you guys can put on a nice choreographed little fight or whatever, but when it gets down to a street fight where you're gonna where you want to inflict some pain, what works, right? And that's where
if I'm in a street fight, I'm not concerned whether my kata is correct.
UFC, that's where that comes in, right? And it's like, let's see what's better. You think karate's the best? Let's see you hold up.
Tell everybody to hold on while I charge myself up.
And I guess that's where they decided jiu-jitsu is kind of like the top of the chain, I think.
When they kept on testing it, like science testing it, I guess you would call the UFC.
Yeah.
Let's throw every style in there. Try it.
Yeah. Trial and error.
And then we evolved.
Yeah.
We evolved to this much better way of fighting. This super kind of human.
Yeah. I know. You look at like even probably the first 10 UFCs or something, and then take any of those guys against a current kind of champions, who are just learning this stuff. And, it's probably a night and day difference in the fighting styles.
Take any of these guys that are doing it right now, and let's put them side by side with a black and white picture of like the strongest man in the world. The strongest man in the world looks like a straight up wimp compared to these guys, right? We have so many years of just like science and just like I'm taking creatine and protein, and these guys become super health nuts to the point of like it's like alien food.
Yeah.
It's like not even real food anymore.
But then they abuse themselves too, right? Because they got to do these like weight cuts and stuff like that to get ready for their fights, right? So they like dehydrate themselves to extreme conditions and all kinds of crazy stuff, or bulk up. Then they got to like eat just a ton of fucking food and whatever to try and like get up to the next level or whatever.
But isn't that a better way to do it?
I don't know.
Is that the next step of it?
They've got it down to a science, right? Those guys, but. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have any idea.
Should we impart that science onto our children? So no, I'm not actually suggesting this because like it's a horrible idea.
Setting up cage fighting for children.
That's plan B.
Plan B.
Plan A is like if it works for a UFC fighter, why aren't we being that hard with our children? For physical ability.
Yeah, I think that's happening now more than ever, though. Like they've got all kinds of gyms. I've even noticed here in town, there's all kinds of gyms, and they're like doing like, they're mixed. It says mixed martial arts, so it's like UFC style fighting stuff, right? That's what they advertise. But they've got like family sessions, and they're like, we take children as young as 4.
Yeah, that's true. Attraction rather than promotion.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of the angle of promotion where the government just kind of steps in and like, makes everybody do it.
Like the work thing, right? Where you show up to work and you got to do like, 40 minutes of physical activity of some kind, right?
Yeah. Every school day, they have to do their learning while running, something like that. It's like mind and body, like soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Make every child a soldier. But see, in that is that duality. You want the kid to be like a soldier, but a soldier, the point of boot camp is to bring the best out of a person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the best kind of fighting, physical, like the in shape, smart, everything that you can be. They're going to bring that out.
Yeah.
But we
want to be gentle
with our children.
Yeah.
Right.
Because sometimes they send you to those boot camps to break you.
Yeah.
It's like a Dr. Phil boot camp.
Yeah.
You don't want to go to that boot camp.
Yeah. So a boot camp with, and then do the opposite, because the horror stories are when the parents are assholes. Like, exact opposite. Like go run a bunch. Here's a PlayStation 5 waiting for you at home. Like, you did really good. You tried, like always like striving for the best, even if they fail, getting back up and like really honing that skill on making a better human.
Mm-hmm.
If we do that for like 10, 20 years,
little carrot stick action.
Yeah. What would the next generation be doing? What would the UFC do? We have to worry about UFC fights killing people?
That's the kind of thing, like, those kind of splits down a road for a society to take are the kind of crossroads that, like, you really need to try and find the best options for that what could strengthen your society, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've got the body ones like that, like you're saying, like, where you've got some sort of regimen where you could, like, keep everyone healthy. And then you've got the mind, the mind end of it, where, like, they could do all kinds of science where, I mean, they've got all kinds of brain science, basically, that, they know what works for teaching people how to, have super memories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like back in the Roman times, like, a Roman general, I think he could memorize like up to like 10,000 names or something like that, like faces and names.
Yeah.
So he'd just see a guy and he'd know, like, oh, that's Anthony. And, and then he'd have all these things memorized, right? And he was responsible for up to like 10,000 people or whatever, right? And that's how they broke everything down.
Yeah.
One unit, one guy would be responsible for 10, and then those 10, the leader of that would be responsible for the 100, right? And then a leader of the 100 would be responsible for 1,000, and so on up to 10,000, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But I just, like, in Japan, like, they've got all kinds of like school systems and stuff where they like teach their kids, math and reading and those kind of things, but like with different programs. Like, they're not, it's not like a phonics system where, where we're sitting there like, oh, trying to spell out a word or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They do like intense, like, flashcard kind of things, where you're like, you have to like have your eyes open, you don't blink, and they're like flashing you like 500 words in 30 seconds kind of thing, as fast as, like, you can almost like barely perceive the word, but your eyes are taking it all in. It's almost subconscious,
Yeah.
And they're teaching, the kids with these weird methods that have been proven, and they've shown amazing results. Because, like, look at how well Japanese people work, like, they're all like math wizards and
absolutely, absolutely. Like, I like what Dan Carlin said about Japanese people. They're just like you and me, only more so.
Yeah.
They just got that extra edge. Mm-hmm. If they do anything, they practice it to death to do it perfectly. I love that thought.
Yeah. Oh, there was this doctor in America who came up with this brain system. It was called, I forget what his name, something Doman, like Bob Doman or Bill Doman, something like that. But he came up with this system and studied children for years and years at this institute that he founded. Okay. And they learned everything about how the brain works with memory and learning and stuff. And this guy was like, building this system for years and years. And apparently he had an assistant either, or somebody from Japan that just picked up on his system and then came over and studied with him. Okay. And kind of learned, and then developed their own system and took it back to Japan. And that's like their version, like how we have like the Waldorf schools and stuff like that.
Yeah. They've
got a version of that there, but it's based off of this super memory system that this doctor created in America.
Huh.
Yeah. And like, I watched these videos like of the children that they take at this institute, and like they, like by age 10 or 12, they could do like advanced math and reading and, different languages and speed reading too, Yeah. And then, so this Shikida, I think his name was, in Japan, he took the methods from Doman and created his own method, and they teach, it's like the #1 system in Japan for teaching children for memory and stuff. And from what I've heard, I think he improved the system.
Yeah, they teach their kids to clean the classroom, like not regular clean, like clean the classroom every day.
Those are like the societal things, right? Those are also missing on our end, right? I mean, it's not just about training the brain and being like super smart, right? But you have to like teach the children, although we don't do it in our schools, but they do, obviously.
Yeah.
But you got to teach the children like how to integrate into society, or how you're expected to act in society, that kind of thing, right?
Compare that to our schools,
where we leave it up to our parents, right? The school just teaches you the stuff, and it's up to your parents to raise you and teach you right from wrong, and teach you, no, you're not supposed to spit in people's faces, and if someone has a problem in the playground, you need to do this and that. They leave it basically up to the parents, although the teachers, I'm sure, step in when things get out of hand, right? But in those kind of countries, the social expectations are kind of taught in their classes, like you said. They're taught respect and cleaning up and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I know, I'm sure we get, I'm sure they make our kids clean up their classrooms and stuff to a degree, but
if a kid didn't want to, in our school system, what am I gonna do with these kids? Oh my God. I think in Japan they can just straight up abuse the kids, can't they? It might be different now.
I know in China they can, but I don't know about Japan. Japan might have a little more stricter system. I know they do this thing in Japan where they send out their child when they're like 5 or 6, like really, really young, and they put them out on a quest, basically, and they have to like do something like go to their grandma's house or something, but they send them by themselves. And that's like a mark that they're like, that they know that the child has like learned everything they've taught them about, I guess common sense, like how, what roads you have to stay on, how to walk on a sidewalk, how to ask for directions if you need them and that kind of thing. And they send them out into the world and like just expect that they're going to make it to their destination.
Because if they don't,
I think they watch them, I think that's part of it, is like you stay behind like 100 meters or whatever, and you're watching from around corners and whatever. But it's like, it's still a thing that they do where it's a special day where they set up this test for the kid where they send him, okay, here's your task. You have to go to go to school and back, or go to your grandma's house or whatever. And it's like a big walk for them because they're only like 6 or whatever. I can't imagine sending my 6-year-old anywhere.
I think it would follow pretty closely to the way we do things. And while we can sit here and say this whole love letter to Japan, I also want to say out loud, like, Japan, you know what I'm talking about? God damn. There's a side to Japan that's just like, what the fuck? Come on. It's just, I have to face palm and walk away. Like there's so many things that make me want to move there.
Yeah.
And then like, I just imagine talking to a neighbor like, hey, have you seen this? Like, oh God, puke in my mouth.
I want to see one of those machines that supposedly dispenses the like used ladies' underwear.
Yeah, stuff like that.
The vending machine.
Like, come on, man. What's wrong with you? You do like a vending machine with used underwear.
Yeah.
So when Japan wants to get weird, they can get weird.
Yeah, like no one else.
Yeah, like Like I thought, I used to pride like kids in the hall, right? Like Toronto is maybe more was now. But Toronto was a weird place, especially 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toronto was a very bizarre city, in my opinion, from my point of view, anyways. Lots of art, lots of like really strange media, lots of people that wanted to like pretend they, yes.
Yeah.
That is smart.
I kind of remember the 90s.
Yeah.
For sure. Around, I was in BC, but, we could watch much music. Right. And they would always show like Toronto kind of like around town for certain segments and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And it looked pretty funky.
Yeah. Well, we would go, we would go to much music. Like I've been there quite a few times when they've filmed.
Yeah.
Even like the radio station 102.1 The Edge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey, look, they're doing something. Bang on the glass, see if we can get in.
Yeah.
You know, and they let you in and stuff like that. So like it's there if you wanna go see it. That's always been neat to pull back the curtain in that way and see that a lot of this media that we're seeing, somebody's working at it. You know, it's not happening by magic. Someone really, really wants it to look like that.
Yeah.
like the Japanese stuff.
Yeah.
That dude sat day and night. You know, not like you and I. He didn't. Man, I've been working on this a while. Ugh. You know, little bit extra, and then okay, what did you make, Hanji? Let's see. And it's like, oh my god, it's perfect. It's just the way I want it. Ugh, gross. No, man.
Pass. Pass.
Hard pass. You know, let me know when you're into adults.
Do they have any like sea monsters around there? You know, that are like Loch Ness monster style or anything?
I've seen reports of squid, giant squid.
Giant squid around Japan?
Yeah, but giant squid is no longer a mythical monster. It's just like a thing that we have.
Yeah.
We never see it.
Yeah. No, but we know they're out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think they started finding like a bunch of dead whales and stuff like that, where they're like something bigger than this whale had to kill it, you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't another whale, so
yeah. Nothing. Because I look here mostly,
mm-hmm.
and I did see a recent lake monster in Ontario.
Really?
Yeah, it was a pretty recent one. I can't remember the name of the lake, but it was in the northern western part.
Interesting.
Like north of Thunder Bay, it looked like.
And what was the description of it?
Camera, like it was part of a compilation video, and it was one of those where you see the bunch of bumps in the water,
right?
And then how it was moving. Even logic and common sense, even if they faked it, that there's something very large under the water to do that.
Yeah. I've seen a few different footage that like looked kind of promising, but it's always kind of looked like a giant serpent, you know, as opposed to like a plesiosaur or whatever they thought maybe it could be at one time, right?
Yeah, that is a good point, because I've been thinking about that a lot. It never, like, I'm trying to picture the neck. It's supposed to be the neck, right?
Yeah.
Like doing that kind of like loop. But a neck that long, a serpent seems more likely.
Yeah.
Giant snake.
That's been the other theory, right? That it's not the giant neck one, because I think they're pretty sure that any pictures that they have of the big neck one are all fakes.
Yeah.
So the only ones they do have that are like videos and pictures that are unexplained are more serpent like. So they're like, their theory, you know, on what it could be is like some sort of giant eel or something, freshwater eel kind of thing. Yeah.
The Cambodian mythical monster, or like I don't even want to call it a mythical monster, because I think it's like their deity. They revere it. Is a multi-headed snake.
Oh,
and
really?
They say it comes out of the water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, out of the Mekong River.
That'd be freaky.
Yeah. Well, the wife said she sees these plasma balls.
Oh, yeah.
Size of a basketball, she says. Blue and light. And they just kind of float through the forest. Just stay away from...
Where's that?
Cambodia.
Okay. So she's seen them?
She has personally seen them come out of the water, go back in the water. Everybody talks about them, but they don't pay any mind to it because they don't know what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, what is that? Like, is it a probe? Is it a person? Plasma person?
did one of these bubbles kind of like shit out another bubble? And it came down, and its most likely spot is water, and it could jump out of it and move around on its own, like ball lightning.
But as far as we know, it could be like that. It floats off, you know, goes off somewhere, and then, you know, somewhere, you know, a couple 100 miles away or whatever, you know, a person has that dream where, like, a ball comes into their room and all of a sudden there's a person standing in the corner of their room, or gray or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a flash of light, and then all of a sudden the shadow person's in their room, right? And then he disappears. That could be how they travel or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Or it could just be messing with the communication within your own brain.
Yeah.
And that's what it does. Like just the zeitgeist at the time is thinking of gray aliens.
Yeah. My wife actually saw one once too, actually, when we were in BC, and she wouldn't talk about it. She got really freaked out because it happened at our house. And like one day I was there too, and she was like, she came out of the room, she was all freaked out, and she was like, oh, I got to get out of there. And I was like, what happened? She's like, I don't want to talk about it. And then I kind of got it out of her. I was like, what happened? She's like, there was like a floating ball of light that came into the room. It was like the size of a golf ball, and it just like floated through the window, and then like it was in the room. And I was like, you mean like a laser? Like someone had a laser pen? And she's like, no, see, that's why I don't want to talk about it, because I just sound crazy. But like,
yeah,
it was like a ball, and it was like right in front of me. I could have grabbed it. And she's like, I was freaking out, so I just left.
See, yeah, like what would be your knee-jerk reaction there?
I don't know. I mean, I like to think I would try and catch it like a firefly.
Exactly.
Cup my hands around it,
She said it right at the time. It came in and I could have grabbed it. Like the knee-jerk reaction is
yeah.
I wonder if I would have touched it.
Yeah. Or if you're just like really too freaked, because she's like, I just got like all locked up and scared, and then she left the room because she's like, I don't know, it broke her brain basically.
Yeah.
And she's like one of those people that like doesn't, like to talk about those kind of things, like, yeah, paranormal kind of stuff. She thinks it's kind of goofy, right? So to experience something like that and not be able to explain it, I think it kind of like broke her, She's like, I don't know what to think here because I sound crazy.
Yeah. Just get me out of the room, put it out of my head, and then I'm going to move about my day.
Yeah.
I admire that. Well, it's how I would act. That's how I do act. Kind of. Yeah.
No, I would want to talk about it, and I'd be like, "What was that? Like, we got to figure that out. Start Googling that shit, and trying to find some answers, right?" And then, like, hopefully, I would have got my phone out in time and been videotaping it, and all kinds of shit. Hopefully,
yeah. Like when for those listening, and I haven't really talked about it too much. When I had that ghost recently, I thought I'd be like having an encounter like that. I'd be freaked out, anxiety right into panic, wanting to like pack my things and run out of the house. I've seen so many movies, but it was just like, It wasn't that. It was like, I just want to leave this situation, but I can't explain it. It's happening around me right now. Like,
do a quick ghost recap.
A ghost recap. The ghost recap was there was a death in the family, and 1 week after, like the timeline fit a little bit too well, that the lights and my printer only in certain rooms were going bananas, and everything else was fine. And then since that day, it's been fine except for no, not since that day. The wife was getting a lot of lights flickering too, and like going into a room, not touching the light, and like it just looked like a Morse code signal,
right?
Like real Stranger Things kind of thing, right? But it was just the lights, and it just seemed like it's doing that thing, just turn it on and off and try to jiggle it a bit, and it'll go back to normal. It subsided. It's gone. We did a Cambodian thing with 3 incense sticks and whatever she said, whatever, I can't even remember the language because of the language, and it's mostly subsided, because it was a family member. Like in my head, I kind of said in agreement, okay, well, dial it back. Like, don't try to scare us. But, you know, like, if you want to watch at a distance, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, to see what's going on.
Bit of an open invitation.
Bit of an open invitation because, you know, like, I got nothing to hide. You want to take a look at what I got going on. I'm proud. You know, I fought hard for my life, and this is a pretty nice place. You know, come look. Yeah, fuck you. Look at it. You said I wouldn't amount to anything? Fuck you. Look at this shit. But it's still going on, especially at night. Like, corner of the eye, like there's someone standing there, and then you have to look 2 times, and there's no one there.
Oh,
just
really?
like, yeah, in white clothing.
Oh, too. No way, really? Oh, that vivid. You can see. I can
see the clothing, but I can't see any like face.
No, but it's like, okay, so you're looking forward, then you see the corner of your eye, and you're like, oh, there's a person standing there, and they're wearing a white something, and then when you look, they're gone, kind of thing.
Yeah, like there's movement, and just like, fuck, who's there? And just like, then you see like the white kind of like robe clothing, like walk near the door, and then you look like blink, walk, look 2 times, and it's like, no, it's not there.
And that's in this house?
Yeah. The one we're in right now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So, but your family member didn't pass away in the house, right?
No, not in his house.
So they're just following you, kind of thing.
I guess so.
Yeah. So I don't know really too much about ghosts. I've never really studied ghosts so much because I was like, you know, I've always been so wildly on the fence with ghosts.
Yeah.
You know, but
I had a bunch when I was a kid.
Ghosts?
Yeah. No one believed me. Like, I was like the sole one going through it, and so it could have been just psychological.
Wow.
You know, like when you say about memory and it's and being a 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid, it's so unreliable. Like, especially when you're going with like a boy that age,
right?
Everything out of his mouth is unreliable. You know, damn near everything. So when I was saying it, like, I felt someone sit on the bed and grab my leg.
Oh, wow.
You know, seeing shadows of like human figures, you know, peek around stuff, and you know.
Are you sleeping for these times, or like when someone sat on your bed? Were you in bed? Was it bedtime?
Yeah. And I ran downstairs where the parents were watching TV.
So it was like pitch black in your room.
Yeah.
Because like I always insist I had to have the fucking door open with the hallway light on. That's the only way I could have to get any sleep.
That's how I got down to it, because the door was open with the hallway light on. I like leapt and like, you know, Superman right down the hallway.
So it was dark, but it was like light enough that you could see like there's no one at the end of my bed.
No, there's no one there, and like, my whole bed moved. Like I lifted up a bit and I could see the depression.
Really? Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and then I felt the hand grab my leg, and that's when just like my skin became electric, and I just straight downstairs. And when I was yelling to my parents about it, and they're go to bed, you know, like that.
Yeah,
that's when I looked back, and then I saw the shadow, you know, peek. No, I'm not. Never. So like I just slept where they were, and while the TV was on, and like that was enough to like get me into my bed.
Oh wow.
Pictures moving, and just like a lot of like little things like that where like I saw it. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
You know.
So is that when you say pictures moving, like, are you looking at something and then you watch it move, or you look at it and then you look back and it's in a different spot? So
no, we're just seeing it move.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, one was a poster like ripped off the wall. Like the corner came up from the bottom up.
No way.
And it was like
and it
tugging, and then it got taken off and then floated down.
And it just ripped?
Well, not like ripped, like
okay, so it's stuck on the wall and it like curled up.
Yeah, and like it was like
because if half of it ripped up, that would be a lot more wild. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, it was. And the strange thing about it too, it wasn't. This is unrelated. Like this was already going on in the house. Mm-hmm. And when I said it happened, because I got the poster from a friend, and there was like a ton. This is what makes it unreliable. There was a ton of tack marks in every corner. Just like a shit ton.
Right.
It was like all ripping apart. I put it up in my room, and it said it ripped off like that, and the other guy that had because that poster's haunted. It never stays on the wall. And we're like, what? Are you joking? It's like, yeah, look at the corners. I've been trying. It won't stay on the wall. No matter what I do, no matter how much I try to make that poster stick on the wall, it will not stick on the wall.
That's interesting.
So that's why he gave it to me.
A haunted poster.
You take it. And it was just, it was around the time of a haunting. So I guess it just kind of fit.
Somebody call the Warrens.
Yeah. Unfortunately for me, because it fit like that, it just made me all the more unbelievable.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm putting that fucker in a frame. Good luck getting out of that bitch.
Yeah, and it was always stuff like that, like the toy. Like I was in a basement room. So I know this sounds horrible. It was less horrible in practice, but in a basement, through a laundry room, and then there was like a room through there, and that was meant as a workout room for whoever owned the house first. So that was like a back room I could be sleeping in. No windows or anything like that.
That was your bedroom?
Yeah, that was my bedroom.
When you were how old?
From like 13 to 18.
Okay.
Yeah. Teenage years.
Sure. Yeah. And you probably want that when you're that.
Oh, yeah. Basement room.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about when I moved into my basement too. Yeah.
Yeah, but the ghost followed me to that house and was playing with the kids' toys in the room on the other side of the laundry room, the rec room.
Right.
I would hear the wooden blocks being played with, cars going around.
And there's no way to get out because you're at the back in that room, right? So you'd have to go through the laundry room to get out to if you wanted to run away or something. Yeah, right?
Yeah. Go into the room where it was all going on. Like, fuck that. I'm just going to hide under my covers because for some reason, like when even as a teenager, like under the covers, that's like a steel trap door.
Yeah. Or you just turn on all your lights and fucking, put on a movie or something if you got a TV in there.
Oh, yeah. That's when I got well accustomed to music is always on to fall asleep to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I still carry that to today. And, for so many years, like nothing. And then the family death. And it's just like, oh, this again. Fuck.
So, I wonder if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff then. Must be.
When I was younger, that could be said. And I thought I lost the sensitivity. And maybe it just kind of like came back because of the family death.
Yeah, it's like a certain bond.
Yeah. If you want to, bond or like because of the relationship that was there. I can see said person in the afterlife kind of going, I want to poke at that a little bit, do something.
Yeah.
So that kind of bled through. If it's not anything like that, then it's not electrical. It really isn't electrical because we just changed it. Mm-hmm. I'm sure of the electrical, but if it was the fluke and it's gone and it was just the electrical thing, cool.
Yeah.
I accept. It's much better than the other way anyways.
Did you say it was in one room or it was in a few different rooms?
In a few different rooms. So like I said, the printer going crazy, and I was so lucky I'm out of paper. It was trying to print.
It was trying to print. Oh my God. Oh, would it be a face or just like a bunch of words,
Yeah. Or it was regular maintenance time. Right?
Yeah, hopefully.
What that could be true. At the exact time I got this other room that's going bananas with the blinking light and like a Morse code kind of way. And it wasn't just like blinking on and off like it had some kind of like an issue. It had blinking like Morse code.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you should record it. Oh,
shit, yeah. No, I did.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, because you should see, because then like you could decipher. see if it is Morse code, right?
I'll ask like, AI. Yeah.
Yeah. Be like, is this Morse code? Or do you read anything? Or yeah. Because that'd be interesting if it was.
Do I want to know?
Yeah. SOS.
Yeah. Or I was like, I don't feel like swearing today.
I cannot repeat that.
It says fuck you over and over again.
So what's the craziest shit that you saw when you were in that basement room, like as a kid, and like stuff's going on in the room next to you and whatever? Like you turn off the light and you turn it back on and there's like a person there upside down and you turn it back off.
No, not a lot of visual. Not a lot of visual stuff. No,
just house noise kind of shit.
Yeah. In that house where it was at its worst, because it like there was one house that was at its worst, and then we moved, and it was kind of there too, but then just kind of like trailed off. The first house, that one I did see the best way to describe it was like the Predator. You know how when it's invisible. And I saw something like that, like walk by, and it was the shape of a human, and it was just like I couldn't quite see through it.
Right.
And again, like I was told a lot, like when you're seeing things, fuck, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kept on accepting it. So I stopped. What I thought at the time was just like seeing stuff, or my brain was broken, or whatever it is. It still might be true. Yeah, jury's not out on that.
So humanoid figure, basically, it was like
that. That was the most unexplainable, like, what was that kind of thing? And then besides the poster, the poster was
okay. So it's like the freakiest thing then, like the time that something scared you, and you're like, oh my god, I can't take much more of this.
Yeah.
Nothing too bad, just kind of.
No, it's just those like single events. Like I got really lucky. It wasn't like we see on TV where it's like this big ramp up.
Yeah.
Where it just builds on the last thing
until all the cupboard doors are slamming. Yeah. When you walk into the room.
It's where our room's on fire or something like that. Walls bleeding.
Yeah,
no, nothing like that.
Deep voices, get out.
No, yeah. If it was anything, it was just a little bit of bleed through from like fourth dimension to here. Yeah. If I were to try to articulate in some kind of way,
a little sweat through it.
Yeah, a little sweat through it, just a little bit, and then a kid in this dimension's playing, and it ended up in my basement. Or there was a ghost just kind of hanging out, but it never really did anything to bother me. So what's the point of doing anything about it, right?
Was it similar event that happened at the first place and the second place? Or was it different things?
No, it felt very similar. Just the kind of noises in the next room where it sounds like somebody's there.
Yeah. Well, because I'm wondering, like, what would be the chances you moved into two haunted places, right? It'd be more likely that you had some sort of entity that was following you.
Yeah.
If anything, right?
Yeah, a neighbor died when we were there, so it could have been
at the first place.
At the first place, yeah, and it was an attached home.
Okay, that could be something.
Yeah, but I had no connection to the neighbor at all.
And that's why when you moved, they had to go. Still attached.
No, but that was just about it. Like
so you hear noises,
like people are there.
Like how so? Like footstep more, or
sitting on the couch,
or talking.
No talking.
No, okay.
No talking.
Imagine like whispering in the background. Like you can't make it out, but it's like
yeah,
freaking me.
Yeah, no, like the wooden block thing. Like little kids have wooden blocks and stuff in a basket, and I would like hear one go on another one like really slowly, like tick, and then another one on another one. And another one.
Oh my god! Did you go check and they're all stacked up though, or you just heard the sound?
I had no balls to go check. I was
no, but I mean, you come out in the morning. Did you find it like
everything
stacked?
Was fine.
Everything, yeah. So the blocks were where they're supposed to be.
Where they're supposed to be, yeah. So I only have reason to believe that I'm hearing or seeing things like they were saying.
Wow.
So I didn't know how to. Yeah. So it. Maybe yes, maybe no.
So the freakiest thing ever was just that time someone sat on your bed. entity or whatever and grabbed your leg.
That was most scared of.
Because you could like feel it, eh?
Yeah.
When they grabbed your leg.
Yeah.
I had the only time I've ever had anything I would say really paranormal was I was living in Medicine Hat, and I was in bed and I was completely awake, and I was just laying there trying to fall asleep, and I felt a hand like go up my shirt and grab my stomach, like right on like like the love handles or something. Like I felt like 5 fingers grab me and like come up and grab me, and I was like, what the fuck? And I jumped out of the bed, turned on the light, and I was just like fucking like so like jazzed and like shaking. I was like, holy fuck. And like I couldn't see anything, and I was like, was I sleeping? I must have been sleeping. or just falling asleep. I was like, that has to be it. But I was the only person there in the house that time.
Yeah.
So I had the whole house to myself, and it was like, 1 a.m. or something like that. And here I am I was like, oh my God. So I had to I went and got a chair and fucking jammed it underneath the door into the room. Cause I was like, I had to be locked in the room by myself. Cause I was like, yeah, I was too worried. I was like, okay, sleep with the light on for a bit.
Yeah. Cause you just, what are the chances?
Yeah. I mean, I'd never experienced anything like that before. Like any kind of like, dozing in and out of consciousness and then having like a weird experience or anything, like nothing like that ever. And here I felt like, okay, I'm just trying to get to sleep. And then it felt like someone grabbed me, and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like it was so distinctive of a hand running up me and then the grab. And I was like, wow.
So the possibility of dream life bleeding into waking life, is it that, or is it?
Mm-hmm. That's what always got me, right? Because I'm like, I was in bed, sitting in the dark.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. You don't know when you're falling asleep, right? So it could have just been that one split second you're falling asleep and your brain's starting to wander.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, who knows how long I was there, right? I could have been asleep for 5 minutes or 10 minutes even before anything happened. And then I woke up, right? Thinking it was only 2 seconds.
Yeah, your brain's gearing up for that to be the dream.
Yeah. Who knows?
Or something happened.
Well,
because you felt it.
Now, here's the thing. I had, at that time when I was living in that house, and it's escaping me now, but my stepmother that I was living there with died while I was there. It was just the two of us there, and she ended up dying. Wow. And I don't remember if this happened well before when she was still alive and she was gone for the weekend. She used to go out and like visit my dad and stuff like that, who couldn't live at the house at the time. And so I can't remember if she was gone that weekend or if she had already passed away. And this is like when I was living there by myself afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. I really wish I could remember, because like it would make a lot of sense one way or the other. I mean, if she passed and then all of a sudden this is the first time I've ever had any kind of experience like that, it'd be like someone reaching out to you.
Yeah, it'd be a nice little story of, I got a hug.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Got a hug.
I probably would have thought about it a lot more warmly, if that was a consideration. So that's what's kind of making me think that I think she was still alive at that time, because I think if she wasn't, I probably might have thought like, oh, I wonder if that's her.
Yeah. Yeah. Or are you tapping into something at that time?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? Medicine Hat is got a little something going on there, because it's like it's got some history with Native Americans. I don't know what exactly, but I know they've got some like heritage with Native Americans there going on. Like I think there might have been like a battle there or something like that. They've got a giant, I don't know if it's like the biggest in Canada or the world or something like that, but there's like a giant teepee they've got. It's it's their like town, display or whatever, right? It's really huge. But One time I went with this girl who I was dating to a park, and she brought me there with her friends, and we were hanging out underneath this tree, and her friends were taking pictures. She's one of those girls that's like always like, taking pictures and, whatever, selfies and stuff, right? So this is kind of like just before selfies, like were really big. Yeah. I was like the last person ever to get a cell phone. Like I didn't get a cell phone until I was 31, I think. And so I did not have a cell phone at this time, but like one of her friends had, a cell phone, and they took a picture of us underneath this tree. And we look at the picture afterwards, like right after we took the picture, and there's a lit up piece of rope, what looks like rope anyways. Looks like it could even be a snake or something. Yeah. But it's hanging from this tree, and then it's like almost like in a shape of a S or something. Like you can definitely tell it looks really rope. Like how a rope has that that wraparound.
Yeah.
Like old like sailor rope or something.
Yeah.
It looked like that. And it was hanging from above us. Wow. In this picture. And it was like, it looked almost like it was like, like it was nighttime, right? So we're all glowing from the light, and this looked like it was like shining too from the light, right? So we're looking at this picture while we're underneath this tree, and we're like, what the fuck? And we're looking above us, and there's nothing there.
Wow.
And yeah, so later that night, I went home and checked it out, and that park was famous for hanging Native Americans.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Like not famous, but like that's where they did it in that town, was that park. That was like where they like hung out, carried out their town justice and whatnot, right?
Ethnically cleansed.
Yeah. So like it said like, a number of people had been hung from trees that were in that park. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I wonder if that's like ghost rope. I just see some ghost rope. Like, I think I've got that picture somewhere.
Yeah. Like, calm down, ghost rope. I'm only white by heritage. I had no part.
Yeah. But it was just weird. Like the only two paranormal kind of things that I would say are paranormal experiences that ever happened to me. And they're both in Medicine Hat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe Medicine Hat's on a ley line.
Yeah.
You ever heard those?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a possibility.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Actually, you're bringing back a memory. I did see one other thing with a couple of buddies. We went for a walk in Ancaster, and it was one of the like normal hiking trails around fall time. And we were talking about at the time how that's supposed to be haunted in that area. And then the girl we were with, she's like, "Do you hear that?" I'm like, "What?" They pointed up at the hill. We see the leaves moving. Something's coming down the hill at a good speed at us.
Oh, wow.
Like, can't see what that is. Like if it was an invisible man, like running down, like being careful, like doing that.
Like a gust of wind was coming at you, basically. Like,
yeah, but only localized, making the leaves move. If it was an invisible man, he's running down. Like, maybe we shouldn't stand here. And then we ended up like running.
Oh, really?
Admittingly, we were high, but like, weed don't make you see stuff.
Yeah.
That was like one of those things where just like, okay, if ghosts are real, that's a ghost running at us. I don't want it to catch. So like, let's go back to the car. Hiking's a bad idea. Yeah. And then
that's wild.
Aside from that, it's been all real stuff. No, not one UFO. That pisses me off.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up actually, because I have always been, like many people, like on the lookout for UFOs. Right? Anytime you see something, you're like, "Holy fuck! I think I see one." No, everyone's always like, "That's just a plane."
Yeah.
Every time I'm like, "I think that's a fucking." No, it's just a plane.
Yeah.
I think I see a fuck. No.
Are the lights blinking? Do you see a blue one? Do you see a red one?
Now,
that's likely a plane.
So the one time I did see something, so I was with this group of friends, right? I think there was 4 or 5 of us. I think there was 4. And we were camping out in BC. And so it was like really dark at this campground we were at, right? Like really great for looking in the sky, right? And it was a nice clear night. So there were stars fucking everywhere. So we decided to do some mushrooms, right? We're like, let's wander around, do some mushrooms. So we, took a small amount, 2 or 3 grams, right?
Okay.
And we're wandering around and like, everything's glowing and, that trippy, like fucking like pulse and then, shit that you get from a few grams. Right. Well, so the girls that we're with, they're like, oh, we're going back, to the trailer. And so me and my buddy were like, oh, well, we're going to just walk up ahead there and go have a smoke this joint. Then we're going to come back. Right. So we go up ahead and like all night it's probably been like 2 or 3 hours while we've been tripping out here. And like, we're all like just laying on our backs in the grass looking like, oh, I think I see a oh no, it's just a shooting star, And anyway, so we're smoking a joint over by the water. And we see a fucking like a bright light kind of moving it. We're like, oh, it's a shooting star, right? Because but then it's going too slow. It's like, oh, okay, it's a satellite because it's just moving in a straight line, right? Well, it stops over the mountain that like is right beside us. And so like we're like right at like standing on like a beach basically. Yeah. And there's water right there. And then on the other side of the water is a big mountain. And so we're looking across the water at this big mountain, right? And we see this light fucking flying over, and then it stops at the mountain, and then it starts to fall like a leaf back and forth, like fucking, that floating, like, and it's going down and down. I'm like, look. I start freaking out. I'm like, look, it's doing like, it's falling like a leaf. And he's like, holy shit. Yeah, you're right. And it fell behind the mountain. Yeah. Yeah. And so we were like, oh, geez, like we fucking saw something weird, right? So we run back and we're telling the girls, like, oh, we just saw this fucking crazy thing. And all night we've been trying to look for UFOs, right? And of course they're like, okay, you guys, you're high on mushrooms. You're looking at lights. Like, we're not too worried. So they didn't really believe us. But we're like, we're fucking sure we saw something. Yeah. We weren't that high.
See, being high is rough because no one believes you, but when your gut tells you, you're just like, no, I saw it. I swear to God. And like when it's drugs too, it, or I should say, I know it's drugs. Concerning the sky and drugs, when I knew it was drugs was when I took acid. And my trip, the stars were the kind of colors you would hope they would be. Right. Like very clear color. Like one was like a deep red, like the normal primary. You're choosing it from a paint program, red, blue, green, yellow, like all of them.
Right.
And when I felt like I could flex my brain like a muscle. And the more I flexed it, the more stars kind of popped out in between stars. Like you're like squeezing something and it made more of like the image come out.
Right.
And then when I relaxed, they went back.
Oh, okay.
So I kept on like squeezing my brain to make all these like extra stars kind of like shine through in between the stars.
Right.
And then there was a hole that opened up in the sky. And it had like red and yellow triangles that kind of spiraled up into the hole. And I'm looking up in it and seeing what's going on there. That's drugs. That's 110% drugs. I never at one point went like, oh my God, look what I'm looking at.
Yeah. Is that like, real, man? Are you seeing that?
It means something. I got to quit my job and empty my bank. Like this is really meaningful. No, at the time, I knew it was drugs. I was enjoying that it was drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was never any worry that that was a real portal.
Yeah, no doubt there was. There was no real portal there, and we all knew it. And nobody else saw what I saw.
Yeah.
It was the same two other people I went on a hike with. He was just laying in the grass with an acoustic guitar. He played the MASH theme, and we laughed our asses off. Just that's drugs.
Yeah.
But if you see something like you saw, and you're like, wait, correct me if I'm wrong. That it almost felt like that broke your high, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, it sobered you up, right? Yeah.
That's how you know.
Yeah. You're like, holy fuck! It snaps you kind of back to reality, and you're like, Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
and that's how I knew. I was like, this can't be the drugs, because like I'm not feeling them anymore.
Yeah.
I just got a drug. I think it's a rush of adrenaline probably, or something, because you're just like so pumped up from like, holy fuck,
I'm going to have to run.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
fight or flight kind of kick in, right? I mean, it was so far away. It wasn't, but like your body doesn't know that really, right? It's just like something scary. That's all it knows, right?
But that is something to pay attention to.
Yeah.
You know your own body. When you feel that, something's up.
Yeah. And then I think we talked about last time too, about like how the theory that UFOs are kind of catching in on people's mind wavelengths.
Yeah.
You know, like there was people who could like summon them. Like I was telling you about that dude on the news who would pray, get on his knees and pray, and then a UFO would show up.
Yeah, yeah. Stephen Greer, and he brings them there.
Yeah, and they do some sort of prayer too, right?
In the desert.
Like, yeah. So, I wonder if there's like that kind of element to it. And if it is, because I have heard that from, several enthusiasts before, that there's some sort of, connection to sensitive, people or whatever. So if drugs kind of open that up, I wonder if that's why people tend to see that kind of thing. It's not because it's, the drugs inducing it. It's because the drugs are opening your mind, and then those beings are kind of cluing in on that and, showing you something almost.
Well, this kind of segues me quite nicely into the recent interview that I listened to with Whitley Strieber. Do you know who that is?
No.
You know the book Communion. I know that for certain.
What's that?
The most famous book with a gray alien on it from way back.
It's called Communion?
Communion.
No, I've never heard of that.
It was...
is it fiction?
No. Nonfiction, actually. Oh, good. I was looking him up. So I have it right here.
Okay,
so that was his book, and it was his abduction recount.
And what year? Ish.
Late 80s, early 90s, and it was popular to the point that a movie was made about it.
Okay, so it's very Fire in the Sky-esque. Because that's right around that time, too.
It was before that.
Yeah?
Yeah. I would even say that movie helped make Fire in the Sky. They wouldn't have made Fire in the Sky without this one.
Right.
But this one was not filmed with the same attitude. Very like made for TV movie kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The actor that played Whitley Strieber was Christopher Walken. Yeah.
No way.
So with that, I like
talking about aliens. I'm telling you guys, I saw one, a little green one.
Yeah. Yes. That's what makes it worth the watch.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I'm gonna check that out then.
Yeah. Aliens. You're kidding. No. Because there was the hypnotizing, and it's a very interesting story.
Yeah.
But this interview that he did on the Danny Jones podcast gave a little bit of like addendum, like extra stuff.
Right. Oh, because this guy's still alive, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He went flat broke from doing that. Well, according to him, he said that because he made that book, he got typecasted. Anything he wrote after that, like nobody wanted to buy it, because it was like akin to science fiction.
Right. But it was a true story book at the time, right? Like a nonfiction.
According to him,
right? But so what was he saying? He was trying to write fiction books after that, and no one would buy them?
Fiction or nonfiction, or just like whatever he did after that, it was like poison. Like, well, why are you still a writer? Why'd you lose your house? Like, now I have to be a writer.
That seems like a weird story in that sense, because you're just like, why didn't you just get a job at McDonald's if you had to? Whatever pays your rent.
Yeah, but what you're doing today is trying to hawk the same thing, trying to revisit the same well.
Yeah, because I can imagine someone like that would make a fortune on the fucking UFO circuits, They pay all these guys to go to these conferences and fucking, chat it up.
It could be said that he's one of the inventors of the UFO circuits.
He's been around a while, right?
He's the OG. He's the OG abduction UFO recounter. And with this extra bit that'll tie back to the drugs and connecting to the other places, he said that in '89, his abduction, they took sperm from him, and then later on at his house, there because there's a forest. He was like up at a cabin and there's forest around. An 11-year-old boy was coming around their house, and he smoked a lot. So this is according to this guy. So this young boy comes in. He's just cigarette after cigarette after cigarette, like doesn't stop, and just like comes around the house and hey, he said he was a very like rude, like shitty kid,
right?
And he believes just by like looking, like he got a vibe that this is my kid from the abduction. Like they made him and maybe he didn't work out and they dumped him off in the forest, like close to where I live.
Almost like a clone.
And that he was communicating, because he's part alien, he was communicating with someone or something else, he theorized, because of the nicotine. And he was trying to get so much into his system to do that communication. And that shamans in Mexico or southern U.S., their rituals that do use tobacco, it's a high, like, it's really rich stuff. And that maybe that there was something to that, but he didn't know it because the kid kind of disappeared after a while. Yeah, maybe eaten by coyotes. Yeah, but
that's wild.
It was really cool hearing his what he considered fact. You know, the interviewer, because now enough time and this movie's in the zeitgeist, and I think it's even quotable.
What was the name of the movie again?
The movie was called Communion.
Okay. I'm going to have to check that out. Christopher Walken and Aliens.
Oh, yeah. The soundtrack is done by Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it was done as a very serious movie, but as you watch it now, you're just like, 1990s. This is the 90s movie.
Yeah, they sell about movies made then. Hey, you can just like put your thumb right on it.
Yeah, it's confusing. Don't get me wrong; it's very confusing. It's not a really. It's a half good UFO movie. I would say that. So not like Fire in the Sky.
Yeah, that's a great movie. So this guy, what kind of stuff did he have to say? I mean, did you just give it a recap of his story, or did he kind of talk about things and be like, oh, they want to help us, or like, oh, they're really bad?
It says he talks to him now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they're good guys, I guess?
No. I really got a sense of he's a writer and he knows how to spin a story.
Right.
And the way he was talking, it was like, I don't know. I don't believe him. I don't believe any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just getting too deep into the weeds of,
yeah.
Because like sometimes they're just like, well, they took me aboard their ship and then they told me their whole history. So like they're a part of a binary star system that, rotates, and like they only, one day for them is 300 of our days. Like those people, I love listening to those fucking whack jobs that are always telling you some crazy shit. Like,
yeah, so matter of fact.
Yeah, just like I talked to the Thetans and they said that they're going to help us soon. They don't want us to have nuclear war.
Yeah, I'm more special than you in every way, shape, or form, except for when I carefully choose when I'm self-deprecating. Other than that, I'm like, I'm special. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I talk to him all the time now. Wish you could. I got that.
I've always just had this thing about, I was growing up and I just had this sixth sense. I could always talk to different things and see spirits. And I think that's why they chose to talk to me.
Hey, here's a real big pet peeve is when they give that speech and then, tack on the end to it. I don't wish this on my worst enemy. It's terrible. It's a terrible fate I have.
Yeah.
Fuck off. You know, you're speaking telepathically with aliens. That's coolest shit around.
Yeah.
You know, oh my god, oh, it's terrifying. So here's something he said that was terrifying, and how he was going down into the weeds really, really deep, is that the aliens have something to do with time. They're outside of time. And when you're outside of time, it makes your life horrible.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to see time travel, your life becomes empty and meaningless, and it's heavy depression directly after, because you feel like your life is just on a set of rails and you have no choice.
Right.
It's like, but you actually have no choice. But the thing that makes us human is the surprise of every day.
Yeah.
And the fight.
But they're just like doom scrolling Facebook, basically, getting FOMO.
Yeah, we're only experiencing new stuff localized entirely within our head instead of like bouncing it off a couple of people. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess he's partaking to that theory that the aliens are basically us from the future coming back.
He didn't speculate. He doesn't know.
No, that's what I get when he's saying that they're out of time or whatever, outside of time. Because that's a pretty popular theory now that, you know, that they're us from the future. And that's why they're, you know, taking us for experiments, is because their DNA is all fucked up and they need, you know, human subjects and stuff for that to mix with them to keep them going. Yeah. Because they're basically sterile. But
and that we're on that path.
Yeah.
Like you gotta, I kind of imagine we gotta be pretty watered down genetically by this point.
But do you don't think they don't have the technology? They can't just fucking clone each other.
Right?
Yeah.
It's too weird to wrap my head around. They're already prefacing everything with it's a truth so horrible no one can say it.
Right.
It's not fucking Voldemort. Like, fuck off. Stop that.
Yeah.
And it's the carrot on this. Yeah, we can. What is it really gonna do? But then everybody who hears the truth is just like, no, we can't say it.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna fuck everything up.
Seems like they're going towards that disclosure, though, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, we're doing like the soft landing. You know, like they're releasing so much information, you don't know what's real and what's not. And, you know, that the government people are basically saying, you know, oh, we've got, you know, craft, and they're talking about like otherworldly beings and stuff like that, you know, like trying to say alien without saying alien, right? Just like we have non-terrestrial bodies and stuff like that, you know, like that's how they put it.
Well, we're not even months away from that happening.
What's happening?
The disclosure. We're only weeks away from that.
And so what's this event? The disclosure event?
So you remember when they had the hearing in
last year or whatever?
Yeah, not last summer, the one before in July.
Yeah.
And that had a tag on it, as per the U.S. law, 300 days of investigation. And then the decision at that point, meaning, so if these guys lied, say it had to do with money, like that guy's stealing money, okay, we need to investigate. If said person who accused is wrong, that is perjury, and that is its own charge that comes with jail time. If they are not wrong and they found that, yeah, that guy was stealing money, then it becomes, thank you, citizen. Guess what, everybody? This guy was stealing money. So we are banking on that this is in the UFO realm. They said, yeah, there's something out there that's fucked up. It's going to fuck up our planes. We got to do something about it. We don't even know what it is. So we got to get a committee or something going on to figure out what the fuck this is, so we don't run into one. They don't seem to run into us. We're pretty sure that they're exceptional with their technology. We're worried about ourselves.
Although apparently they're pretty bad drivers because they keep crashing these things all over the place.
Some have crashed.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people say, no, they don't make mistakes. That was a purposeful crash.
Right. Yeah. Not even a crash, just a landing, you know?
Yeah. An aggressive landing is like, here's that tech. Let's see what you do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then make a bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that theory. I don't know that they would just go through all that trouble and hope that you find it, you know, buried in a mountain or something like that.
Yeah.
They're really taking a chance.
They are really taking a chance.
I think they could get struck down and stuff. I don't think it's necessarily that they're crashing. I think it's that they're possibly going through turbulence or something. I mean, like, I think there's even some video of what looks like a UFO being hit by lightning.
Yeah.
You know, so you can imagine if they're like floating around, all of a sudden they get a random lightning strike or something that just like takes them down. You know, that's a possibility, I think.
Yeah, we don't know if their shit's attracting.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah, it's got all kinds of electrical fields on it, right? So if they go through some static electricity or something in the sky, that's kind of like getting ready for a lightning storm. It might like attract a super bolt or something like that, right? And then it just knocks out all their shit, and then they just fall to the ground.
Yeah, they're the UFO could be like the flannel pajamas shuffling feet across the ground in the wintertime.
Yeah,
getting that static charge ready, and then just zap, bang.
And then you know, I've been reading through all these Tesla files too. You know, like the I don't know if we talked about this last time. I think we did, but they've got the FBI reports of Tesla, like everything they collected on Tesla, and it's all on these PDF files, and you can go to fbi.gov and then type in Tesla, and it'll just let you download everything like related to him that they have. And there's like just like 300 pages, I think, on these documents, and it's just, you know, photocopies of old reports. Like some of them are signed by J. Edgar Hoover, and they're like, oh, like we've got to get into the contents of his safe. Like they're talking about when he died and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And you know, like he definitely had a fucking laser weapon or something. You know, like he had a super weapon he called Doomsday Weapon, I think, or no, what was it? Doomsday Ray or Death Ray? That's what it was.
Yeah,
the Death Ray. So like it was reported, I think in like the early 1900s, maybe late 1800s, that he had invented this Death Ray that he claimed could take out entire armies of planes. Like you see a plane, you know, a bunch of planes flying in the sky ready to bomb, and you shoot this thing and they all just fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
You know, and he claimed he basically already had this weapon done. He just had to build it, but he didn't have the money for it. But he's finally like proven all the concepts and tested it out and said, like, here it is, you know, on paper. If you build it, it will come, you know. And so there's all these like documents of them talking about this Death Ray and stuff. And they're like, we got to get into his safe because, you know, he was a supposed communist, I guess, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Like he'd been to a couple of communist meetings. I think he wasn't necessarily that political, but you know, I think, what was it? Where was he from? Like not Turkey, like Armenia, something like that. Like he's from, you know, one of those countries, and they were paying him. Maybe it was Yugoslavia, but yeah, Serbia. That was it. Yeah, you're right. And so they were paying him a monthly stipend of like, I think it was like $500 a month or something, which, you know, in like the early 1900s, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, and he was living in hotels. That's where he like lived all the time. So you'd get this money from them, and they were just basically covering his food and, you know, hotel stay. And then that's where he died, was in that hotel, the New York hotel or something. And there's all the memos about it are just like just before he died, like 2 weeks before he died, he put three or four of these major inventions of his, which included the death ray, and he put it all in the safe at the hotel. And then when he died, people tried to get it, but the hotel wouldn't give it over. They weren't giving it out. And then apparently they did to somebody, like his cousin or a nephew. I think that's what it was. It was this nephew showed up. As soon as he died, his nephew showed up like the day after he died to clear out shit from his place. And it was apparently like several of the documents. It's like apparently Tesla hated his nephew. Like he was not well loved.
Yeah.
But for some reason, this guy's here the day after his death to try and get into the safe. So he knew. It's like very weird in that sense, you know, this like cousin that he apparently didn't like very much, or nephew that he didn't like very much, is like, you know, knows what he's got hidden away and is trying to get it. So they wonder if like maybe even though he didn't like him, they were his cousin there was a member, I think, of the Communist Party for Serbia. So I think they were figuring like, oh, like maybe he's connected to, you know, them through his cousin kind of thing. And that was the reason why they were paying him $500 a month, was because, you know, he was giving them, you know, some of his research, or at least giving them the first option to take it after he passed. You know, something like that, right?
Serbia, still not a superpower.
Yeah.
Can we take a quick break a second?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Mr. Kirk, Dexter's in school. I'm afraid he's not, Miss Birchmore. Dexter's truancy problem is way out of hand. The Baltimore County School Board have decided to expel Dexter from the entire public school system. Mr. Kirk, I was up there to shoot him at Dexter's truancy, but surely expulsion is not the answer. I'm afraid expulsion is the only answer. It's the opinion of the entire staff that Dexter is criminally insane. That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Lie down on the couch. What does that mean? You're a nut. You're crazy in the coconut. What does that mean? That boy needs therapy. I'm gonna kill you. That boy needs therapy. Granny Gazoo, let's have a tea.
Cool. Yeah.
All right.
So, what were you saying, sorry?
About Tesla.
Oh, yeah, and his death ray.
His death ray, yeah.
He hates his nephew.
Yes, but the death ray, I think that might have something to do with why, you know, they're able to knock down UFOs now. Or at some point, right? I think like at a point of like maybe the late 1800s, early 1900s, right in there, the turn of the century, basically.
Yeah.
I think they had the technology by that point to shoot down a UFO.
Oh. So in the world of UFOs, like Tesla's their Hitler.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
Fuck that guy.
But like there's this footage, like this guy in British Columbia, I think it was in Victoria possibly, but he ran a TV station. I think maybe we talked about this one too last time, but this guy ran a TV station and he had access to all the satellites, like all the satellite dishes.
Oh.
Right. And so it was like, you know, it was a small place. So it was only like him and a couple guys that worked there. Right. So he had 13 dishes, I think, and only 10 of them were in use. So he had like 3 dishes basically that he, you know, they were just sitting there and he could kind of just move them around. And I think he said like, you know, if just for fun, they would move them around to different places and pick up, you know, all kinds of TV from around the world, right? And they could just watch it there. And then, you know, it was kind of a goof, right?
Yeah.
So he got this idea to point the satellites towards the ISS and intercept all NASA's footage that they were live streaming, because he's like, oh, apparently they've got all these signals up there. He's like, we should be able to just pick it right up. So he pointed just one of the satellites up there and, you know, intercepted the signal right off the bat. And he's like, he figured like, oh, it must be encrypted, or, you know, they must have some sort of something, right? But nope. Because then, like, you know, because spies could just do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so he tapped into this line and he had like 30 videotapes that were like 8 hours long. You know how you can put it on long extend? So he said he had like, you know, 30 tapes or something like that at like each one's 8 hours long. And every time they were doing missions and whatever, he was up there recording them. And he said literally from the time he put in the very first tape and hit record, right away there was UFOs all over the screen. And like in the footage that he provides of, like, you know, it's supposed to be actual space footage. It's either like the dirtiest place, you know, that you would imagine, like, because there's so much shit floating around there.
Yeah.
Or there's like a lot of traffic up there.
Yeah.
And like, I thought that supposedly like a pea grain or something would pierce the space shuttle, you know, like any kind of debris basically would like shoot right through, you know, at 100 kilometers an hour. They always said the tiniest little things were dangerous, right?
Yeah.
And here, you know, you're looking at this footage and there's just everywhere you look, there's just a zillion little things floating around. So, you know, it looks like a petri dish basically.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, like, you know, how realistic is that? How much are they lying about?
Yeah. There's nothing going on out there, but meanwhile, like the old Looney Tunes Marvin the Martian, the way it looks out there is pretty fucking accurate.
Yeah.
Love those guys.
Which guys?
Oh, the Looney Tunes.
Oh,
they had it right this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, if outer space is like that, like retro awesome, sign me up.
Yeah.
I love it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Jump aboard my spaceship.
Yeah. I want silver boots that go above my knee.
One of these footage anyways, from that dude, there is this video of a craft coming into Earth, and it's like, you know, clear as day.
Yeah.
This object coming into Earth orbit, and then there's a flash of light and a laser shoots out, like what you would assume kind of like a laser. It's like a bullet basically. It looks like it's Trump style. You just see like a zip across the screen, and the object, like as soon as it sees the flash from off screen, right, it U-turns and then books it. Like it's going like at a certain speed, and then it turns around completely and then goes triple speed the opposite direction, and then this big light just whoosh, shoots through that looks like a bullet.
Wow.
So the idea is that like that's the death ray, and that's why these things are like very cautious about coming through here, because it's like you're not supposed to be here, you know.
Yeah, Tesla was the hero we deserved.
Well, you know, it could be that that's the reason, you know, why we have some of these downed crafts that we have, and the reason that we haven't been taken over by now. And people are like, oh, well, you know, why don't they just come here and attack, right? Like, we got lucky enough that like somebody figured that out and built, you know, a death ray basically that could take down an entire fleet of UFOs.
Yeah.
You know, then that's basically a nuclear bomb to them, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it could very well be that that's the reason that, you know, we have any kind of separation from them. Like they could be all floating around out there just waiting to attack us even, right? And it's like they can't.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just waiting for openings and whatever, but like, you know, that's what we've got, like a huge amount of resources poured towards, is this secret war going on with people that are invading basically.
I'd like to know this war.
Yeah.
Don't make it a secret anymore.
Well, there's those guys that are talking about, you know, that we've got the off-world war that they're fighting on Mars.
Space Force. Yeah.
I don't know if it's exactly Space Force. Isn't Space Force the government branch?
Yeah, like it's their like how's it? There's the Air Force.
Right. So that's their Space Force. Yeah.
Yeah, the U.S. has one.
Yeah,
they unveiled it recently.
Right.
Yeah, they have patches and shit.
But then, yeah, so there's this supposed secret pact that went on between Eisenhower and the aliens at that time.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's supposedly the pact that we've had since then the reason there hasn't been any major aggressions or anything.
Yeah.
Because I think before that there was the event, right, known as the Battle of Los Angeles.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And when that happened, you know, everyone was freaking out because there was like all these UFOs flying over LA, and they were shooting at them, and they were just standing there, you know, like nothing was bringing them down. And there was like, you know, a dozen of them or something like that. And they were all standing and just like, you know, floating in unison over the Capitol and just like hovering, you know what I mean? And nothing was taking them down. And then they just like left after like 2 hours or something. But like everyone saw them, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you couldn't avoid the air raid, right? I mean, they're shooting for hours at these things.
And then Tesla comes up with that ray.
Yeah.
And Dwight Eisenhower has a meeting with the aliens, and he brings them over to the window at the White House. Guys, come on over here. Look out there. Zap, bang. How are you going to get home?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Let's sign a paper. What do you say?
Yeah. Yeah, now that you can't get home, how will you make yourself comfortable? Get on the phone, tell everybody else to fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And since that day, we've been all right in terms of alien invasion. But in terms of human invasion, we have failed miserably.
Yeah.
Yeah. But have you seen online that the UFOs respond to green lasers?
No.
If you get lucky enough to see one and you got a green laser in your pocket, shine it at the UFO, they'll shine it back.
Interesting.
Green laser. Yeah, they'll play with you.
I have to try that out. I know you can get those like super industrial ones, right? That go like 3 miles away or whatever. Like that's the super laser I want to get.
Then there's like an orb floating around. Just shine it out a couple of times, and they'll like beam it back a couple of times exactly where you are.
Yeah, I remember doing that. That time I was telling you about, like when I was tripping with the mushrooms or whatever, we were like trying to signal the UFOs with our flashlight, doing the like SOS with our, covering the flashlight and trying to flash it. Apparently, I remember watching an episode of Unsolved Mysteries once, and they were talking about a famous case of 4 guys who went out in a canoe onto the lake. Right? There was like 2 of them in one, 2 in the other, and they were paddling out onto the lake, and they had their fire going right on the shore.
Yeah.
And so they got it going. It's like a big raging fucking fire. They get out in the boat. They're like, we're going to go for a quick paddle, and then we're going to come back and like cook some hot dogs and whatever, right? So they hop on the boat. They get out, they kind of paddle. They're about the middle of the lake or whatever. And they're like, okay, let's head back in. And then they see this UFO like slowly floating over the lake, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck's that? And one of their buddies is like, well, let's see if we can like wave at it or whatever, right? So he starts doing a fucking SOS on his flashlight. And then the ball starts floating over towards them. And they're like, oh, they start kind of freaking out a bit, right? And then all of a sudden there was a flash of light. And then they all woke up and they were all on land.
Yeah.
Right? And their fire was just ashes.
That's
like
cool.
Smoldering away.
Where were you for that time?
Yeah. Like it must have been, like, according to how they built the fire, they figured they must have been gone for like 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
3 or 4 hours, something like that. So, yeah. And that, I think it turned out like they didn't know what happened. Then they ended up going to a therapist or whatever, and he put them in their hypnosis, and they were all explaining the same kind of story. Like, there was guys over top of us doing these experiments.
No,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked up, one of them was in a suit.
You know who George Clinton is, right?
The singer?
Yeah, the funk guy.
Yeah.
I hope that it's that guy. Yeah, it is him. He was back in the day. He was hanging out with, and I hope I'm right on this one too, Bootsy Collins. Do you know who that is? He's
No.
if you think about funk and bass player, and you picture a bass player with a star guitar and star sunglasses, and just like he's the funkiest dude, like that's Bootsy Collins.
Okay, cool.
You know, he's almost like a cartoon character in real life. I love the guy to bits. Anyways, they were coming from Detroit into Toronto to stay at I think it was George Clinton's daughter had a house in Toronto in one of the suburbs. So they were going to stay there after a tour. And they were coming in, and as they were coming up one of the streets in Toronto, they saw lightning hit the ground. And it was a weird kind of lightning, made sparks. And just as he turned to Bootsy and said, like, did you see that? It went from daytime to nighttime immediately. And then they lost a whole bunch of time. They don't know where it went. And they just went home and then never talked about it. And they brought it up like later on, like, hey, do you remember this happening? And like, fuck, don't even mention it because I don't know what to say about it. You know?
That's weird.
Just like your wife in the room. Like,
yeah, some people, it just like, I think it breaks their brain, to think about that. Because it's like, once you, like, I mean, if you think, okay, I've never believed in aliens, and you've made fun of people like, oh yeah, you believe in aliens, whatever, and then all of a sudden an alien walked in front of you, like, you would have such a hard time like just accepting that. I think that you'd be one of those people that just like deny.
Well, they're like, you're George Clinton, like, you must have been on drugs,
right?
And he said, we just crossed the border. Like, there was no drugs. We had to go find it.
Right.
There's you don't, even at my stature, I can't cross the border with a bunch of drugs.
Yeah. Not unless you really want to be risky.
Yeah. Even on drugs, you don't want to be on anything when you cross the border. You want to be 100%. So fair point. Really fair point. And there's two of them, like two of them that lost time that they can't explain. Here's where it's weird, though, to me, is that it happened in a suburb, and they reported that lightning that hit a car. So nobody reported a lightning strike on their car. Nobody reported anything other than these two guys saying something later on in an interview. Yeah, that's a little rough.
Yeah.
That's hard. But, you know, if anybody's going to be taken by aliens, those two are the two that you'd probably want to take.
Yeah. I know, man. Alien stories are just, it's so much to it. Because, you know, so many people have so many stories, and you're like, oh, okay, well, if someone tells you, your kind of instinct is to be like, oh, wow, really? Like, you kind of believe them, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, how many of these can be real, and how many are just crazy people?
Travis Walton can show you the tree rings on the spot and how the trees were affected. So that's some of the closest evidence we have.
Yeah.
Other than people with implants, and then they go, okay, do an X-ray on me or remove it, and you see the implant, and you're just like, hey, fuck, like, you know, that was no accident. That was no like stray piece of metal that ended up in your body. That was implanted there. That's made. The fuck.
Yeah.
And they're going the same. Yeah, I don't know. The fuck, man. If you could tell me anything, I'd really like to hear it.
I remember seeing somebody who thought they had been abducted by an alien, and then they removed a chunk of mystery metal.
Yeah.
That they thought, you know, was a tracker or whatever.
Yeah.
And it had like little symbols on it.
Yeah.
You know, like etched in and tiny. It was like the size of a grain of rice, but it had like two little symbols on it under a microscope, you know? Like,
correct.
It was like,
yeah.
Oh, like that would freak the fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it makes me wonder about myself. I haven't had too many x-rays. You know?
Yeah. Can have a lump anywhere, like a tiny little grain of size, you know, grain of rice, fucking lump under your jaw or something. Yeah, you wouldn't have no idea.
Would you want to keep it in though?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess it depends if if you've been having fucking nightmares for years, and you know you're one of those people, right? That get repeat visits and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then yeah, you might want to get it removed, because you get, you know, you're one of those people who like wakes up in the middle of the night and you can't move your body. You know, you ever hear those stories, and they're like, I'm awake and I'm totally awake, but I can't move my body. And then all of a sudden I can see someone moving in my room, you know, and they start walking over to me. And then all of a sudden, like, things go dark. And then I wake up and, like, you know, there's a light in my eye. And, you know, they've got a whole story, right?
Yeah.
Like that I think I'd definitely remove the metal. I probably, I don't know if I want that one. But I mean, if you were just like, you know, just like us here, and then all of a sudden you get some sort of fucking regression therapy, and they're just like, oh, did you know you've been abducted by aliens for the last 20 years? Like, really? I had no idea.
I've thought about that.
Like, maybe that's why I wake up sometimes and I got a headache, but, you know.
I don't think you can just, like, pop into hypnosis and be like, yo, I think aliens, let's see what's up.
Yeah. Well, some
it's already ruined.
Some think you can, because I feel like so many people go and do that like regression thing where they're like trying to find out your fucking past lives, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And those people that specialize in that, I feel like they usually get results. you know?
Yeah.
And so I wonder if it's like they're hypnotizing them into thinking this kind of stuff, or if they're just, you know, maybe cherry picking.
Planted.
Yeah, it could be somebody faking it. You know, like they kind of like they're working with people, and they, you know, it's one of those things where they know that, you know, I mean, I'm talking to you about it, and so I know you're serious about it, you know, and you're just like, yeah, you know, I have all these dreams all the time for sure. And so, you know, you just want to double check and make sure that this shit is, you know, legit.
Yeah. It needs some solid evidence, and none is to be had. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. And a lot of it seems like just dreams crossing into reality. That's a very possible thing to have happen.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Memory's unreliable and
surprisingly unreliable.
Yeah. What you see and what you remember is the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're...
Yeah, right, when it all comes down to it, right? Like, I mean, if you hooked you up to a computer and we're reading your brain through scans, you know, you'd be able to probably, like, have those two experiences, and on paper it would look the same, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, the way your brain is made, you never ever see exactly what's in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. It's always filtered through the back part of your brain. And what you're reading off of, the RAM that you're reading off of, is your memory, not your eyeballs.
Yeah.
So that throws a huge spin. Like, it kind of breaks your world a little bit when you start walking around knowing that you're not actually seeing anything. You're just remembering what your eyeballs are taking in.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? That's funny, because there was this guy, I think today, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but I listened to it today. He was on Rogan, and he was this scientist that was, I think he was a memory scientist or something like that. But anyways, he was going on about memory and how our brains work and stuff. And he was saying he had some sort of new kind of thesis on how the brain worked, and he was saying basically that memory doesn't exist somehow. I wasn't quite sure what he was getting at for the whole point of it, but he was basically saying that, like, we don't remember things. It's more like your brain is picking up on information, almost like Wi-Fi. So he's like, the information is out there and we're picking it up, but we're not retaining it.
Now that's a mind-bending thought.
Yeah.
None of it is being stored in your... We think it's being stored in your brain right now, but that hypothesis that it's not in your brain, that it's an external hard drive somewhere else that we can't see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've always imagined, or at least hoped, that death is like the one Avengers movie where the gold people are flying the planes.
Right.
Like you thought, like, they exploded, but they just get up out of a video game. They were flying a drone, and they're like, "Oh man!"
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what we all hope that the death is like. That, like, shit, we're all serious and scared about our death, and then when it's over, like, we wake up somewhere else, going, "Fuck."
Yeah. Well, I think that's a pretty, you know, common belief nowadays, that there's something like that, you know, like when you die, it's not just over, it's on to the next, you know, realm. Yeah. You know, like in this multi-dimensional thing, like that's where the Mandela effect kind of comes from, right? People think like, okay, maybe you were in another timeline,
Yeah.
You know, and then you died, or a big group of people died, and that's why they're in this timeline and they remember things differently.
Yeah.
You know, like you can just imagine if like half the world got wiped out in some sort of event, then they would, you know, and they all woke up with no memory of anything in the next reality.
Yeah.
Then, you know, they would just have those remnants of the past, you know, like, oh, it was Jif peanut butter, not Jif, you know, like.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyways, we're just about to be booted.
Oh, from Podbean?
Yeah. We're at the 2-hour mark, so I think this is a good place to call it.
All right.
Okay.
We'll shut her down.
Okay. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next time. If any of you are listening to this and you want to call in, we're live on Thursdays.
Starting at 9 p.m. till whenever.
9, what is it, Eastern Standard Time?
Yeah, Toronto time.
Toronto time.
That's what I like to say.
Yeah.
Toronto time.
9 p.m. Toronto time. Tune in and, you know, let us know what you guys think.
All right. Have a good.
All right. Catch you on the flip side.